Thanks for joining in for today's webinar on SAP Hybris Web Content Management System. This is Sean Rajaputra, your host for today's webinar. We see other attendees joining in. We'll just give them a few seconds and we'll get started. Thanks again. This is Sean Rajaputra, your host for today's webinar on Hybris WCMS. Today's webinar, we are going to talk in detail about Hybris WCMS and how you can effectively use for your projects. Our speaker for today's webinar is Ravi Pal, who is our practice lead for e-commerce and digital marketing practice at ProSoft. This is our 6th webinar in Hybris series, and Ravi brings over more than 20 years of experience in e-commerce, both B2B and B2C side of it, and have played critical roles in solving several complex e-commerce and digital marketing initiatives, including omni-channel, digital marketing, social collaboration, retail supply chain operations for medium to large retailers. Ravi, back to you. And all the attendees, we request you to post your questions on the questions tab on your right-hand side, and we'll be more than happy to answer them in the Q&A session in the last few minutes. Thank you, Ravi. Back to you.
Hey, thanks, Sean. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. It's always a pleasure sharing our experience on various SAP Hybris topics. Our today's pick is Web Content Management System. Before I start, I want to greet everyone from sunny and gorgeous Phoenix. Such a pleasure to be here. And glad it's going to be hitting 90 degrees today, and it means a lot being a Chicago resident. So quite excited about it. So let's get started on our today's topic. So my brief introduction, name Ravi Pal, my email address here if you want to reach out to me. You can also connect with me on my LinkedIn profile, as well as if you live around Chicago area. I run a Chicago SAP Hybris group, and you can also connect with that, and we occasionally come across where we will meet and discuss about many different issues, what customer prospects and some of the key developers and architects they are facing. So briefly, I've been in the industry for 20 years, been helping designing and developing digital solutions for B2C and B2B on many known platforms with the specialization on SAP Hybris. As a company, we do develop digital platform solutions on B2C and B2B omni-channel in conjunction with interactive marketing. We do help organizations to develop their product information management systems. We do help them in constructing their master data management, primarily in the space of product catalog and customers. Our integration capability in the space of e-commerce and digital marketing covers all the front office integration with POS systems and back-end supply chain management integration. Our focus area being retail, CPG, and manufacturing. We've been also serving some of the other verticals as well, but primarily these are the three main focus areas we deal with. So let's move back on our today's topic, Web Content Management System. And before I jump into talking about what it is and what are the different views in terms of to develop an understanding of what does it contain and how it's going to be understood so that we can be used effectively and make use of it effectively in our project. My observation while working with many clients, handling content in, it doesn't matter whether it's a B2C scenario or it is a B2B scenario or it's any simple website. It's always, handling content is always been the most crucial part of any successful rollout. And so there been an era where the content management system used to sit standalone. So I've been part of those projects and those initiatives where a content management system like Documentum, FileNet, Talent, Adobe, and Alfresco, today when they are used. So they will be managed and maintained separately as a standalone, ensuring to gather all the content and then eventually bring in that content into the web domain so that any of the websites we are building, they can consume that content. But in terms of their authorization, in terms of authoring the content, compiling the content, bringing the content together, that was a standalone application working in its own silo, different from any of the platform, which is more geared for the omni-channel perspective for the web and mobility, working independently of that. So with Hybris, when Hybris, from the architectural standpoint of view, Hybris brought this world of data and unstructured data in terms of the content together into one single platform. And so when I start looking into that, so what does it mean is that you do not have to deal with multiple different vendor applications. You do not have to deal with multiple architectural platforms. So one consolidated platform given to you, so that any of your initiatives, it can be composed from a single platform. And so when we, as I will walk you through, so one part you must have heard if you are a Hybris developer or a Hybris user, that Hybris, main premise of any information it contains, it calls it a catalog. And now under this catalog abstraction, there are two views of a catalog. One is all about the product catalog, where all the information related to product, whether it's categories or it's pricing information or its attributes or its extended attributes, or it is its media and the media information, how does this product relates to the classification. So whole plethora of information, whatever you can think of in the capacity of a structured data. So that's the way this product catalog being structured. And now when we look into the content, which is more like, it's supporting descriptions or the supporting pages or the supporting promotions, which are also an integral part of any successful rollout. So they've been structured in a catalog named content catalog. So when we start looking into that within a Hybris repository, always keep in mind that this catalog has two views. One is all about the product catalog and the content catalog. So our discussion today is all about a content catalog under the web content management system, which is by itself its own module, and it's going to provide and all the capabilities what you need to have from the content perspective for developing your any B2C or B2B solutions or anything more than that. So having said that, the way I have structured my content, and this is my content means the way for this presentation. The way I have structured is that I have divided it into five different subjects. So one is all about talking about the WCMS overview, then a little bit about logical view, architecture, design, UI, and template. So let's move forward. So simply stating what a CMS, especially the web CMS, distinction here is, we are all talking about here nothing but creating, managing, and rendering, which is integral part of a website development. So that's where the web content management system is offering us. So that's what from the definition perspective, it's all about create, it's all about manage, about render all the website content for our websites. So when we look at out of the box application coming with Hybris platform, so this fashion store, if we look at it, these are two different pages. These two different pages have been constructed, looking at the way they look from two different templates. So those two different templates, come from a different structure, a layout, and the different kind of content. Just like you see here, there are some images, and then you see here there is some logo, and then you see there is a promotion, new summer classic. And then there is a header information, there is a footer information, and there are a lot of links. So overall, you see a mix of that. There is a data, there is a content. So overall, as we start getting into it, we will see that how this whole design of these pages being reinforced into that, how the structure is being laid out, how are the different type of content types are supported, and can I bring all those content types to make a logical unit, where I have some of the content along with some of the image and also some of the data. So that is also the way we are going to learn that how the architecture, that is supported and how we are going to make use of it. So this is about business apps. So before we get into learning, so we should also see that mostly, what business is looking for. So business comes from three different angles. They want to know that, content lifecycle management, how I should be able to ensure that, any of the web pages which I am creating, how should I be authoring those pages, how should be authoring the content of those pages, well, how will I ensure that, the people are authorized to only view that rather than, they go and change the content, because this is something very sensitive information. I do not want to go it on production without any workflow. So that is very critical. How I'm going to make sure that there is a proper tagging available, if there is any searching availability, how I'm going to configure that part, some versioning, some archival, so that part within the lifecycle management. And then a preview and publishing, that's another requirement, segment from the business community, is the ability to view the content. They would like to see, what's going into production. Does it? Can I view that content before I say, okay, I want to synchronize this staging environment with the production, or I just want to see, how is everything right, or I'm just going to forward to my supervisor or manager so that they can approve it before it hits the production. So and then last, from a perspective of capacity and perspective of some archival, from the storage perspective, how this whole content is stored, how I'm going to take the backup of it, how I'm going to move from one environment to another environment, what needs to be done. So overall, it's a mix of business and some of the system requirements. So as we walk through, we will ensure that we will see that does this web content management system suffice all the requirements, or does it there are some other things which it doesn't. So looking at it, content versioning, archival, and forging, those, especially the versioning is not part of this thing because it's not a content management system. This is all about the web content. So just so some of the things we will learn, how Hybris does it, and some of the things which probably is not in the capacity or capability of Hybris. So let's move on in our platform capabilities. So there are four different ways we will learn about it. One is we talked about content catalog, and I also made a point that the content catalog, when you start hearing this word, always assume that this is all about unstructured things. This is all about the pages I want to construct. Take an example of FAQ page. So if you are building a FAQ page, you will have a content page type, and then you can go and edit that page, which is quite run by some of your website page developer and to manage the page, those who just will go and will manage that page. Same is the contact page. Same is a lot of other information which you want to show as part of in a personalized way to a customer, or you would like to personalize it in a product way. So content catalog is the mean by which we are going to have all that information bring together to show it. Hybris Management Console. So this is a tool which Hybris provides where we do some of the part of managing some of defining some of the parts, configuring our content. It provides the one view where we can see. I will give you some glimpse of it, because normally, if you can go and open that up, pretty much, you can just run it by yourself. Then the third part is a content management cockpit, which is also called CMSCockpit. So this is more of a design view. So when you have done something from the configuration side on the agency side, and now your marketing team want to manage some of the pages, and so they will go into a CMS cockpit where they will manage those pages. And then the last is how the content eventually is going to be imported and exported. So that happens through the impact means of Hybris. This is another tool which runs on top of Hybris, a flexible search mechanism to read all of your impact files, consume those files, and then eventually at the end make changes to its repository. Okay, so in a simple view, within a repository, you will see there is a product data and media, and then you will see extra content. So it's all about the content catalog. So WCMS provides means to author, compose, publish, and render parts of website components. It provides means to manage templates, pages, content slot, components, and content. And these five things, template, pages, content, component, content, this is what makes all a web content management system. And I will go into detail that how these things are linked, what is the relationship between them, how something you should be more worried about, and some of the things where you will interact with with the technical team, some of the things which business user can handle independently without involving technology, and some of the things where they both have to think through together and make it happen. We already talked about easy to use GUI tools such as HMC and Cockpit, and it provides a application programming interface. So there are many out-of-the-box services, and if you want to extend some of the functionality, or if you want to integrate some of your in-house application with the CMS system, there are many APIs available. For instance, you will have a service for site, you will have a service for base store, you will have a service for a component, you will have a service for your template. So there are many services which can actually you make use of it if you want to do anything in integration with your peripheral applications within your domain of business. It provides a batch-based mechanism, which is essentially the impact. And if you will see there are out of the box some sample applications with some, and those sample applications have a structured content available as part of the initialization process. And that content contains all of the Impex files, which are essentially the data which you want to import. And through its Impex platform utility, is going to read and eventually make the data available to you. It provides us a means to personalize the content, which is specific to a category page. It can be specific to a product page. It can be specific to a user at a time. So it's more like once you have created the content and you say that, this content is not applicable to everything. FAQ page is more of, for the whole website, anyone who comes on that, that is open. But there may be many business requirements where your content is only applicable to a particular product. You want to say something about product and say, okay, the product A, way of packaging is this way, handle it with care, those kind of things. And next one is that it has an inbuilt caching mechanism. So whenever, so overall, it will ensure that the performance is maintained through its inbuilt cache. So once the content is retrieved, it is kept in the caching, it's a caching bucket, and the next time when it hit it, the content is retrieved from the caching bucket instead of going back to the repository to pull it back for the performance reason. There are means by which, as we were talking about, some of the workflow capabilities, we were talking about the means that how the synchronization plays a part. There are tools, and we, business users as well as our technical users, they can make use of the synchronization by which you can actually synchronize your catalog between two different versions. So many of you, those who use this Hybris, must have seen that there are primarily two versions, even though you can create as many versions as you want. And stage and your final, which is product, which is your production version. They are a part of any catalog. So like if you want to go from staging to production environment, from a staging to production version, so synchronization part is available. But this does not work across environment. So if you have two different Hybris instances, so synchronize, it doesn't mean that you can synchronize an instance from one instance of Hybris to another instance of Hybris. For that there are some additional things that we done, and so there are some added feature out of the Hybris which does it, and we also have done a number of customization to that, so that even that's possible, but that's not all about, which basically like this synchronization is not what I'm talking about. So let's now take a look at how this relationship is. So when you look at this triangle, always think through that my website, like when I start building my website, that is my topmost in a hierarchy structure. That's kind of my root node is. And now my site is composed of multiple templates. The way I showed you in the start of this presentation, that there was a home page, where you want to throw a number of promotions, and that there was a product display page. So those are two distinct templates. So, so within a site, you can have multiple templates. So for each template, there can be many pages, and this is one-to-many kind of a relationship. And you can have a template which say this is my template for a product page, and then you can have, and it suffices to many product pages, And if you want to show two different product styles, then in that case you have to have two different product templates. It may happen, maybe like your one product is meant for general classification or a general category of a product, and maybe another product is a classification where some of the other things you want to show as part of that. So you will have a different template. So within a page, then comes many slots. So like slot, you can say this is my slot for the header, this is my slot for my sidebar, this is my slot for a slot for my my main area, this is my slot for footer. So overall, you can see these slots in that capacity, that how you are going to structure your page, and then have a dedicated space for them, so that any component you assign to those slots, they get confined within the boundary of that content slot. So within a content slot, you can have n number of components. And as I was talking about those components, it can be as simple as your image, which is the image component. It can be as simple as your paragraph component, where you can have, some content, and then you can have some images. You can, and out of the box, Hybris comes with many components. There is a mini cart component. There is a cart component. There is payment. So overall, you will see that from the functionality of a commerce side of it, there are many components available. Then it has some of the components which are more like content-based components, where you can drop that content and then you can have any content the way you want to assign it to. So one distinction I want to make here is that as we have content slot which is coming for page as well as template, there is also a relationship between a content slot to a template and a content slot to a page. And many times when you go to a Hybris Management Console, you will open up that WCMS. So as you open up that WCMS tree, you will find there are many sub-menus within WCMS. So one of that is that content slot for template, content slot for pages. So if you have a content slot assigned to a template, what does it mean is that now that will be available to all the pages. So if any component assigned to a content slot which is assigned to a template, so those components will be visible on all the pages. So those are some of the things, as you get into a CMSCockpit, you start looking into that. Okay, I see some of them are locked. They are kind of a template-based content, content slots, and then I also see there is a punch, a boxing glove, and that shows that you can have the ability also, even though it is dedicated on a template, to have it as part of your page, so that you override that part, if you configure it that way. So let's move on from here to nothing on this one. Just wanted to show that on HMC, where you should be looking into if you have not started using Hybris. But if you are already familiar with this, this is all the sub-menu within WCMS, website, page types, page template, content slot for page template. So all of those things you will see as and which you can configure. Mostly for the configuration perspective, mostly from you want to assign and build some relationship and create some of the things for your website. So what I just described in a pictorial format, and this is simple to understand that the template is all shown in black lines, and the page is composed based on this template, and then all the light blue color is all the slots, content slots as the header, sidebar, and the main area, and within that there can be components. Okay, so that develop and understand that all the slides dedicated in terms of building a understanding about what is this and what are the different components and how do they relate to each other. So that was all the logical side of it. So let's see, architecturally how these pieces are fit into each other and how do they complement each other and facilitate to make this to work. So a baseline architecture which Hybris follows, this particular slide shows that underneath the baseline architecture, that this architecture is composed of different tiers. There is a repository tier, there is a persistence tier, then there is business logic, then access and presentation to the client. So if we need to understand how a WCMS has been structured architecturally, I think having an understanding about the baseline architecture will help and guide you a lot that what underneath the components they are working within that capacity. So I will briefly discuss about that when we talk about the repository. This is all a Hybris repository to its file storage to any third-party system you want to connect with. In the persistence is where you are when you create a data type and then you ask Hybris to convert that data into the representation in terms of the object representation. So what Hybris does is, it actually takes your definition of the data type, then it converts into a simple to understand a model. So models are nothing but you can correlate with the Java. So it has a object model representing that particular schema of your data type. And then underneath, it's going to bind that within the repository so that your model, which is being represented to support your type, so type here, it can be a product, just for simple. So the type can be as simple as a country, the list of states is in a country. So that model is eventually going to tie up to a repository. So then, so sitting on top of that is all the business services. So there was, even till date also, there's JIT, all about a Jakarta logic, a Jello layer, that was earlier the design of Hybris where it was, the model was very much restricted and very much bound to the logic too. So a lot of Jello logic was written in that layer. But as it started evolving into more like services-oriented architecture, that's where the best practice is more like geared toward making your services tier sitting on top of your model so that you can actually have those services work independently of your underneath model, which works closely with the repository. So you have more flexibility and scalability in that fashion. But anyway, just move on. So with all of those services, which are all Spring-based business services, and there are many system services that come out of picture, and sitting on top of that are the different presentation logic to access those services so that those services can be eventually rendered back to the client, which can be a browser-based client, or it can be your straight B2B from a custom application. Also, you can make it, and then it can be any cockpit application, call center, or any other, or admin, or store, or maybe it's mobility, all of those kind of things sitting as a client here. So as we have developed now some understanding on a Hybris baseline architecture, so let's see how does it fit in to support a web content management system. So so now all of these three different layers. Let's first look at the bottom one, which is model and yellow layer. So all of your to support your CMS, all the templates, its pages, content slots, all the components, there is a supporting data type, and that supporting data type eventually is nothing but, as I explained, it's a model, and then that model is directly relates to with the underneath repository. It means that it's underneath a database object. So model and yellow layer, they bring all of these different WCMS components so that now the model is there, and then there is some yellow logic which is still part of a WCMS system. And sitting on top of it is all your content services. For instance, there is a store service, content slot service, component service, site service. So those services give you a next level of abstraction that, rather than going directly onto the yellow layer and make use of those models through services, you get to access, what my site is. So, for this site, how many templates I have, for how many templates are assigned to pages. So you can use those services to know internally how you have configured the systems to identity. Now, sitting on top of it, the content tags, there are servlets, there are filters. So all of that is part of your presentation layer. So when you are when a technical user or a technical developer is working on the JSP pages, so the JSP pages, there are CMS2 tags, so those tags, which, based on your content slot, you can make use of those tags, and then, those are simple 3-4 tags, which gives you that, how you want to pull the content and want to show the content. So architecturally, as we now know that, from the baseline architecture, pretty much it uses that, and then it's structured into these three forms. As Hybris is always a very modular, and all of the modules, they work independently, and then they help each other, and then they bind together at the runtime in the services fashion, so that, all the services can run independently, but at the same time can support each other's logic through message and through events, all those kind of things. So to support all of these three different types, there are a content extension, which is a CMS2 extension is there, which has many of these models, yellow layers, content services, and content that, they are part of that CMS2 extension. So most of you, those who are already using Hybris, you must have seen, if you go into Hybris and then look into its bin extensions, you will find it out that there are distinctly there is CMS2, and then there is extension to that as part of the CMS2 lib, and then there is another extension, CMSCockpit. So they are, and HMC is anyway separate, even though that extension support a lot of the CMS feature also. So this takes us and gives us a very good understanding, like how all the pieces they fit together to support WCMS features. So let's move forward. And as I was talking about in the model layer, how that is supported. So this is a view, very complex view. There are so many relationships. It's a UML diagram, which shows, some of the inheritance as well as composition and association between the different entities. And so the intent to show this is that, so that you can also develop a deep down architectural understanding that how these things are, work and come together. So as I was talking about, site, there is a site, there is a template, there is a page, there is a content plot, then under content plot are the components. So all of those, a part of WCMS, they are supported through these data rights. So this is a data model. So all of these data rights, support that. On the right-hand side, even though my page is a little cut here, there are different restrictions. So you will also see that I was talking about as if you want to personalize any content for a product or a category or a user or a time, so there are different restriction types have been provided so that you can actually make use of those restrictions and can also extend, those restrictions if you would like to customize any of that type. So looking at that, at the top, we is a CMS site, it basically belongs to a content catalog, then, page template, then we have abstract page, and that. So a lot of these pages, where catalog page, content page, category, product, they all come from and extract and extend the abstract page. So this is very, very a technical view. So many of the audience here, those who deal with all of on a day-to-day life, it will be much easier. But if suppose you come from a business side of the equation, then this is quite hard to consume. So, but I think this is the basis on which so I was laying and putting together my architecture. So that's why I just wanted that it's important to show and have some understanding about this. So design view is all about CMSCockpit. I was thinking about showing some of the slides on CMSCockpit, but somehow I was running out of time, so couldn't bring it. So overall, as you open up your CMSCockpit, there is so cockpit concept. You all must be knowing that this is all about build on the the tools framework, which is building rich user interfaces. So that's the way they have come up with different cockpits. CMSCockpit, product cockpit, and then there is a CSR, and so overall a ticker system. So there are many cockpits which is part of this. And CMSCockpit is dedicated to the design view. So like what are being configured on your SMC, you can go there and then you can. So mostly when I talk about CMSCockpit with an organization, from the governance perspective of the organization, this is more meant for the business users, where they can actually deal with some of the pages. So and the technical people, they make components, and those components become available on CMSCockpit. So those you can actually make use. So business user can really consume those components and then compose the pages, and it basically brings that kind of capability to the business user. So so in the design views, architecturally, they are based on velocity templates. So you can configure your template and you can define your template, as you give that template, so when you start operating within CMSCockpit perspective. So all the things when you're viewing it, that may be very different from the way you look at production, because all of that is all about how your JSP template is looking for. So maybe like you can see two views, but it gives you very good understanding, like in terms of that this component I want to test and see, when content looks okay or not. So that works, in that capacity. So this is from a look into any developer side of it when they, as I expand, and see that what been there uh, on my web application side. So, this is the explosion of, their Y Accelerator storefront. So I just picked that up. So if you look at it within the views, there are a desktop, and then within the desktop there are mobile and all that. So in the desktop view, you will find pages and then the fragments and CMS. So all of these nuggets, all of these components from the technical component perspective, when you are going to make any customization to a component, that component you will be going there and making a change to that. Now, as we are touching this part, I think I will also would like to bring another aspect. If you are building a custom component, most of the components, when I look at it, that their component, has to be extended by, a simple CMS component. So that is that's the object, which is available for us to extend it. And then when we extend it, pretty much, you can define your data type, whatever attributes and all that, you think are part of your new component. And then pretty much the same development, when we develop for any Hybris, any other thing. So you will write it up, some of the logic, in terms of, how you're going to save the data, and then, how you're going to have some of those services, which brings, and how you're going to override those services with any of the method which you're overriding. And then based on that, you write some of the view components in terms of CSS or JavaScript if anything is very specific to component, and then you configure it and then move on to that. So probably, it would be a good idea, to show, to create a component, from end to end with configuration to CMSCockpit, probably in some other webinar that would be useful, I think. So with that, I think it concludes our today's session. So I hope this was helpful, and you guys can make use of it. And any question, you can always contact me. Sean, back to you. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Ravi. It was indeed a very informative and technical presentation, what you have just done. Now the forum is open for the Q&A session. Any questions you have, we would love to answer them in the next few minutes. Please feel free to type your questions in the questions tab. So we'll take the first one. Does WCMS help native mobile development?
No, this is all about making responsive websites, Sean. So mobile development has, so if you're talking developing any native mobile apps, then it's all about you will be working with APIs which are more geared and comes out of the box with iOS and Android. So this is all about, like, you want to show a responsive on your, whether it's a phone or anything, but it's running within the browser.
Okay, thank you. We'll take one more. What is the easiest way to create a component?
Yeah, I explained that in my last few minutes. So it's one part is like, there is a simple CMS component, that is technically, that's a abstraction being given which needs to be extended. So overall, you have to, so put it this way, there are four things which need to be constructed. One is that what that component you want to have. If take an example, a simple paragraph component versus a mini cart component. So in a mini cart component, you want to show the content of a cart, and then you may want to have some other things as part of that mini cart, and then there is a CMS paragraph component where you are just writing nothing but the free text. So when you start working on it, you have to first build that this is what I'm trying to do. So you have to create a data type, and then eventually that data type something will be model, and then you extend that model in your implementation simple CMS component, so that your logic can be wrapped up in a component, so that that component can be visible into the CMS cockpit. And then eventually you have a service, which service is going to consume this component, which is part of once this component got configured, and then you take it from there.
Sure. Thanks, Ravi. We have one more. How can anyone export the content catalog to another environment?
Yeah, there are actually one way is that there have been an advanced export feature. So because synchronization doesn't work across environments, so Hybris, so in the so they have written an advanced export feature. So in the advanced export feature, what it does is that you can have different types which you want to export out of that. So and within a content, as I told you, that content is is template pages and all that. So all of those, when you configure, you can actually download all that into the Impex files, and then you can have those Impex files imported into another environment. And with some customization, this process can also be automated, so that you don't have to go through many of the manual steps which you want to do. But there is some customization required on top of this advanced export mechanism.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Ravi. So with that, we come to an end for this webinar. I hope it was informative to you. And if you have any further questions, please drop us an email, and we would be more than happy to answer them in a one-on-one session. Thanks everyone for joining in, and we'll look forward to having you on our next webinars as well. And thank you, Ravi, once again for the webinar. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.